Extraordinary Drummer Show. As you know, I'm your host, Cheron Moore. You know, I always say today. I'm excited. I've already started this interview long before the introduction. I'm so excited. My guest today, oh man. We welcome to the Extraordinary Drummer Show today. My guest, Dana Davis. Hey, Dana.
Hey.
Yeah. Dana, how you like that big intro?
Oh, that was pretty amazing. Who is he talking about?
Dana, let me start here. I use that word legend because that's what other people said to me. Because you have set up many generations. How do you feel about that, man?
A little weird, if I can say it that way, you know, because I just like playing. I wasn't planning to set up anything in the future. I was just playing for the now. So to hear guys say, man, I listened to you coming up, or to hear Marcus Baylor say, I used to come to the concerts when you would come to St. Louis, and I would sit on the side and just watch you play. You know, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just enjoying doing what I did. I was playing drums. But to hear them say, you're a legend, it's pretty scary because I don't see myself as a legend. You know, I just see myself as another guy who had an opportunity to play drums.
I'm going to come back to that a little later on in a section we call Drum Technique Talk.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go here. You're from Detroit, Michigan, is it?
Yep.
Detroit,
313, baby.
Man, what is it about Detroit that just, you know, I mean, come on, everything. Detroit, Dayton, and Philly. What is it? Is it in the water or what? What is it?
It's got to be in the water. What I liked about that era is everybody had their own identity. Nobody was seeking to be better than the other person. They was seeking to be different. And so that's what made the 80s so, like, just his own authentic, if I could say it that way, because everybody had their own sound. And everybody brought what they had to the game. And, you know, it was just fun to just take from somebody. It's like going to a Thanksgiving dinner. If you like cranberry sauce, you can grab that. If you like yams, you can grab that. I don't like macaroni and cheese, so I never grab that. But, you know, it's that same little situation where you can use that model to say, this is Detroit. Everybody had their own sound. And yet you saw the passion behind it, you know. So that's what I appreciate about Detroit. It was just passion everybody brought. And that's every city I've played in. You know, you see their approach, you see their sound, you see their love for their instrument, especially drummers.
We got to talk about this, though. You don't like mac and cheese?
I never liked mac and cheese.
Man, I know you'd have been fussed out a few times, boy.
Yeah. No mac and cheese, no cranberry sauce, just give me the meat.
It sure looked like you was putting some mac and cheese on them drums, though, boy.
Yeah, buddy, I had fun doing that.
And I read somewhere, did you start playing at the age of 3?
At the age of 3.
How did it come about, and when did you get your first drum kit?
So what happened is my brothers was already in music. My dad and my mom was music. So my family is just musically inclined. It's in our DNA. So my mom and dad started a singing group with my sisters, and my brothers was playing the drum. My brother played the drums, and my other brother played the keyboards. And so that's how that band started. And when my dad died at 3, they kind of like took me and kept me involved with stuff because once my father died, I didn't have a male figure in my life. So my brothers took me and my mom took me and had me start playing the drums. And when they would do programs, they would allow me to do a solo before they actually got up to sing. And so that's how that whole era started of me playing drums and understanding it. And so, you know, 3 years old, I was playing like I was one of the guys. I can't explain what that was. I don't know if that was a King David moment or I don't know. But that's what happened for me, yeah. Understand it, yeah.
I'm thinking your feet can't even reach the pedal at 3 years old.
Yeah, they put me in a little church seat. It set me up to the set.
You start playing in church?
I was playing in church. That's where I started.
That's where you grew up at playing, huh?
Yep, that's my roots.
What about those shouts? Did those shouts wear you out or what?
I enjoyed them. We see they play shouts now, but they didn't play them at the time. We were playing them for like 30, 45 minutes sometimes. People would shout almost an hour.
Dana, I read somewhere where you got noticed by the Winans. Now, was that when you turned professional at 15, or was that before that?
That was when I started getting paid. So that's what I consider professional, is once I started getting paid. At the age of 16, I was playing drums with the Winans. And how I got that job was, that opportunity to play. My brother, oldest brother, had a studio where he would rent out his studio for rehearsals. He was teaching music there, and both of my brothers were teachers at this music school, and the Winans would come over there and rehearse, or they would rehearse in my brother's basement, and so my brother was playing, and they were looking for another drummer because the other drummer they had let go. Then they had another drummer before me, and he didn't work out. And so they was looking for another drummer. And then my brother said, my brother Jeff's like, well, my little brother can play. You want to check him out? And they was like, yeah, let's check him out. So in the rehearsal, I got to play. I played the music. I had the pocket tight. My brother was like, don't overplay. Just play the pocket. So I did exactly what he said. And from that day forth, I had the job.
Woo, 15.
At 15.
What was it like sitting under Marvin? He hollering, boy, just singing.
He was interesting because he exposed me to other things that I wasn't exposed to when it comes to the whole approach to music and keeping your audience engaged. You know, he had a way of keeping the audience engaged from how he speak to them to how he sing to them. And he knew how to keep the stage in a controlled atmosphere or environment where he not only controlled the stage, he controlled his audience.
What were some of the records? I'm staying with the Winans for a little bit before I move on. What were some of the records you played on?
I did Carnegie Hall. We did the Apollo. I can't think of the title of some of the records. I played on the song called When You Cry.
Oh man, come on.
I played on that record. The record after that, I did a production. I wrote a song with Carvin, Universal Love. George Duke was producing that project.
Dana, what do you think when you hear the word gospel chops, gospel drummers, gospel chops? What do you think of that when you hear that word?
Gospel chops. We do have our own approach to drums. We do have our own approach to music. And if you hear a lot of R&B now, well, there's a lot of church musicians playing R&B. And so we just took what we did in church and put it in R&B, you know, where R&B had its own vibe, it had its own style. And it wasn't the church. It was, you got to play that pocket. You can't overplay the song, you know. Where a lot of R&B artists now requires that a drummer be a little more aggressive and active in the music.
Dana, let's talk a little bit about your credits. What was it like working with Aretha Franklin?
Oh man, that was nervous because you hear all the stories about how she's this diva, um, and yet the stories I heard didn't match up to who she was when I met her and when I worked with her at her house, when I rehearsed with her at her house. She was laid back, she was cool, she knew what she wanted, and we played the music. Um, I got the job through Thomas Whitfield um, and Lenard Brantley, bass player. Playing with Aretha was just like, you just have to know your music and stay on top of what's going on because she gonna know. And that was the beauty about her, is she know her music and she know when you play it wrong, and when you don't play it right. Like we did a concert at a major event in Chicago. It was me, Kern, I believe it was Jonathan Dubose, and Thomas Whitfield, and we played for Aretha. And she took off before Thomas could set her up for the key of the song. And she gave us this look like, if a look could kill, we all be dead. Yeah. But she was easy to work with, working with her in the studio to working with her in rehearsals. She was cool. She come in, she did her thing, she was nice. She wasn't bougie, wasn't standoffish. She came in and we rehearsed. She was like amazing. She's the queen. Yeah.
Tell me about this one. I spoke in the intro. I said you've done TV work. What's it like being on the Oprah Winfrey Show?
It was interesting. It was scary because again, I was a kid that was totally green to a whole lot of stuff due to my lack of exposure, if you will, to certain things. We didn't have TV shows like an Oprah Winfrey in Detroit, so I didn't know what that was like. It was just, to me, it was like going to do another concert, if you will. And so we went in there, we had everything set up, because I think we was on that show with Kevin Bond, or the Bronsons, Milton Bronson, and the Tommies. I think we did a show with them. But even with Oprah, she was cool, man. She was like the coolest person.
Dana, we have a thing on the show that we call word of advice.
Hmm.
I ask the drummers, I ask the guests if they'll leave a parting word for the up and coming drummers and even the guys at the next level, but that are trying to get traction in this game. If you will, would you leave them a word of advice, please?
My word of advice is stay consistent. Uh, don't let the hype catch you slipping to where you lose your identity. Your name is all you have. You got to protect your name. So when people say your name, what do they think? What comes to their mind? That's what it is you want to leave. You want to leave good impressions. You may not be the best drummer, but if you're a guy that people can work with, they'd rather work with a person who has less talent than a person who has a lot of talent with a bad attitude. I would say have a great attitude. Let your people skills be on top, be on point. Let your ability to play be on point. Learn the music, know the music, show up on time, know how to work with everybody on the stage. Don't come in there thinking you better than everybody or have that mindset of practice. You talking about practice? You talking about missing the rehearsal? No, show up to rehearsal on time. And showing up on time is before the actual time of the rehearsal. Um, know your music, look appropriate. Don't don't come in there with all that street talk, that street lingo. Come in there thinking you a thug. No, go in there, be a happy guy or a happy girl. Learn how to work with everybody. Learn how to get along with the artists. See what it is they need. Stay away from people who are always complaining about the gig. Stay away from people who don't have nothing positive to say about other musicians. Because all of that will get in your spirit. You know what I'm saying? And the next thing you know, you find yourself critiquing everybody, and then you become another one of those guys who just hate on everybody. And you don't want to be that person. You want to be a person who always have a great attitude, show up on time, great people skills, you know the music, easy to get along with, the road managers love you, the artists love you, the musicians love you, the roadies love you, your tech love you. You know, you want to be in a place where you are just this great guy that everybody wants to work with, and you will stay working all the time.
Mm. Boy, if we had to pay for that or go through 40 years to learn that.
Yeah,
Woo, thank you. Thank
yeah.
you so very much. Dana, let's talk a little bit about things going on and projects you're doing. This one, featured artists and that new album project, the new CD project, the new project you're doing. What is that? I think we spoke of it earlier.
Uh, when I'm working on my own jazz art album, I'm doing smooth jazz art, a record, playing piano actually. I'm working on things that for me for a change. You know, we always find ourselves doing stuff for everybody else, and we get sidetracked and we lose out on opportunities for the things that I feel are assignments for us or opportunities for us to spread our wings and do other things. But we hide behind an artist because we sometimes are afraid to stretch out.
Is that piano plugged up? Oh, it just got plugged. You think I can get you to swivel around there and play a couple of bars for us?
Oh, I don't know. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Dana, that's gonna mess the drum world up, Dana. Dana, tell me about the book. What's the name of it, and are these things featured in it, or is it about the music? What is the book
Yes.
about, and what's the name of it?
The name of the book is Seeking God Over Seeking Thing. It took me on this journey of all of the hard knocks life, the lessons I've learned from being on the road, from music, and growing up as a male. You know, the combination of the two, um, the low self esteem, the mismanaging of my money, not being a good steward over the opportunities that I had. You know, I took them for granted. You know, I didn't seize the moment on those opportunities. So that's what the book is about.
Tell me about the men's
Ah,
movement and
yeah.
reach.
So the Reach was built off a fellowship I had with some drummers. Gerald Haywood that came in town. He was working with Chris Brown, and he was like, "Yo, I'm in town. Come get me." And so we came over and worked out on the drums. I had another drummer. My nephews were with me, and we all went out to this soul food place. And it was at that place we were all just transparent. Nobody had their guards up, and we was all just enjoying the fellowship. And so the men's movement started from a fellowship of what happened with me, Gerald, a guy named Nate, and my nephews, Jeff, Josh, and Neil. We all hung out at this soul food place in Detroit. And from that, it went to me having my sons to understand this is what I was lacking, affirmation. So the whole movement is about bringing men together in an environment where they're not judged, but they're loved. And it's through food, what we do best. We all eat. So if I can bring men together through a fellowship of eating, I promise you, you sit at a table, you're gonna learn how to speak to other men, because men gonna make you speak. You know, they're gonna make you say hello. And so that whole movement was about bringing men together to put them in a place where they can be transparent so we can heal each other, you know. And from that, God allowed me to then go to men's shelters and give out toiletry bags, you know. So I was giving out hygiene bags like that. If I was homeless, what would I want in that hygiene bag? So those are things I went and bought. I didn't give you the hotel little small package. I gave you something that'll last you a whole month. And so I was doing that once a quarter. And on my birthday, I went out to this area where all the homeless people would hang out at, and I gave out food, and I gave out hygiene bags. I went to another shelter. I gave out blankets, and I gave out hygiene bags. I'm big on hygiene bags because a lot of people don't have, you know, the things they need to keep themselves fresh, you know, being out there in the streets. And so that's what God gave me. The movement is about building men, affirming men, letting men, show men they value, show them their worth, show them opportunities to be able to do other stuff, to go other places, to build them as leaders, as fathers, as husbands, and just a good neighbor, if you will, in the community. You know, that's what the reach is about, building men and bringing men of all races together.
Dana, we do a thing on the show here at the end, a question I always ask the drummers, and that is, Dana, what would you want your legacy to be said, to be told?
I impact the world through love, and drums was the vehicle I used to reach musicians and change their life to show them they value their worth. Not that he was not just only a good drummer, but he was a dude that was genuine. He was humble. He was a dude of love. He was forever encouraging people, building people, giving people opportunities, you know, that other people wouldn't give. And so that's my wish, that I carry a legacy that allow people to change their life, build people, and they keep it going. You know, disciples discipling disciples. And they keep going and they keep going and going. Like Jesus wanted it to do. He wanted it to keep going. Don't stop at me. I gave you the Holy Ghost, the Comforter, to keep it going.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I can say after that is wow.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think that's going to be from a many generations to come, because I've already seen about maybe 3 generations myself that you have influenced.
That's what's up. I appreciate that. That's what I want to do. I want to change people's lives. I want to love on people. And now that I understand the power of music, I can use music as a vehicle to build platforms that allow me those opportunities to walk in those rooms and do that. That's who I am. I'm a drummer, piano player, songwriter, book writer, speaker, a leader, a father, a husband. But at the end of the day, I'm a guy who want to love on people and put them where they're supposed to be. I want to contribute to putting people in their destiny.
Dana, let me say thank you so very much for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. This was great. Thank you. You got me emotional. I appreciate that. Yep.
I think it's things that not only would tear down the walls in people's heart that's been said through you, but that it's just going to cause a healing, man. It's just going to cause a healing.
Yeah. I hope so. Because it's
Well, yeah,
time. There's a lot of broken musicians out here, all due to what they didn't have coming up as a young man, and they got to be healed because it's affecting their life as a father, some as a husband, some as a brother, some as a leader, and they taking their brokenness and they're trying to lead people broken. So just think about how many people being hurt because they're being led by broken people. We got to change that. And so the platform God has given you here, it can help people. It can change people. It can heal broken brothers through the guests you bring, you know, and you through just your testimony alone, you know. Yeah.
Imagine if when you go try to heal somebody and you're broken, you're not healing as a solid piece, as a whole piece. So that means a few things. One, in my understanding, that means one, you're not bringing the total entity and the design of what that healed piece is supposed to be. The second thing that brings to mind as you're saying that is you're healing from a broken piece of the entity. You get it? The piece. And how much can you give out if you're just a piece of, if you got 5 fingers and you only got one, look how much you're missing from not having the other 5, and each one of them has its own function.
Right.
And that's something.
Yes.
That's something. And I think of you, and I'll get off the soapbox here. I can go back at least 40 years, 30-ish, 40 years, and hear that name, Dana Davis. And they're watching soapbox. And I hear teacher, educator, clinician, you know, somebody might, that's not saved, might say idol, another might say mentor. I mean, on and on and on and on. But the thing that gets me, there you got me on the soapbox. You did it as a broken piece that became healed. Oh man, you better think, don't you get me preaching
Oh
now.
my God, I didn't look at it like that. I was broken. Yeah. And God shielded me in my brokenness so that I can learn and see what I needed to see. And a lot of my bad decisions, because I was broken, caused me to overstay places, seasons that I missed windows of opportunity on because of my brokenness. Because my brokenness had me in a place of insecurity, fear, doubt, unbelief, you know, inconsistent. Go ahead.
Dana, I keep hearing God telling me he wasn't broken. He thinks it was broken. He can assume it might look like it, and sure enough felt like it. But here's what I did. It's not broken pieces. I separate the pieces so I can isolate on each piece.
Wow.
And then I brought them back together. It just felt like it was broken and the pain from it, but I pulled them apart. It's like he put each piece on a separate island so he can work with each piece.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. That's powerful. Wow. Because here I go again. I didn't know I was broken until you just said, until we just got to this conversation of I was broken and yet he was using me. You know, it's the same with Job. He was broken, but God was still using him. You know, David, you know, was broken, but yet God used him. You know, Paul. I mean, that's an endless list. You and myself, you know. Wow.
Thank you so very much for being on the Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you had a good time.
Oh, man, you healed me. You did, you don't understand.
I'm going to send you an invoice.
There you go. I promise you, when I take off, it's going to be
Get out of
good.
here.
It's going to be
Hey,
great.
would you help us? Would you help us wave goodbye to all of the fans?
Thank you. Appreciate this opportunity. I can't wait to do it again.
Hopefully soon. Thank you, my
Yeah.
friend.
Take care.
Bye-bye.